pronouns, and where are you from and where do you live now?
My name is Talia Berenbaum. My pronouns are she, her. I'm originally from Denver, Colorado, but now I live in Rochester, New York.
Nice. And what's your main instrument?
My main instrument is the bass trombone.
Yeah, okay. Cool. How did you get into music? What was your path like? Is there anything that you would advise future musicians, um, or anything you would have done differently?
Yeah, I foray into it was probably like my first grade. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. My first grade guitar club. Um, I don't play guitar anymore whatsoever. But yeah, and then but I didn't really get like serious about it until like I picked up the trombone for fourth grade band. Um, and then I kind of just like never stops. Um, and yeah, I first got into composition kind of through jazz. I started doing a lot of jazz in middle and high school. I went to Denver School of the Arts, which is at the time, and I think still does have a very big jazz component to their program. And so I was like, in, instead of doing like after school orchestra programs, I was in like jazz combos and doing all that stuff. And Denver, Denver has a really nice, um, healthy jazz scene. And so I knew a lot of the players there at the time. And I ended up kind of, I started bringing like, I shouldn't say pieces. Jeez, I've been in classical music too long. Started bringing tunes into the groups I was in. Um, and I think I'd been interested in writing classical music for a while, but not to say that it's easier, but I think jazz has a little bit of a lower barrier to entry because you don't have to write out all the parts explicitly. You just have to write a lead
Mm,
sheet. Um, you don't even have to use your own chords. There's all sorts of standard chord progressions like blues or rhythm changes or
right.
that exist, or you can also write a contrafact, which is just t taking chords from another tune and writing your own melody over it. And so I didn't really know how music theory worked, but I knew that Wikipedia had an article that had a bunch of different blues changes, and so I was like just kind of copying them and putting stuff over it, and that kind of eventually evolved into like more complicated things, more classical things. Um, and then I eventually realized that composition was really what I was passionate about, and um, that was the part I liked about playing jazz. And so I kind of started doing that more seriously and started taking comp lessons from a student at University of Denver. Uh, Somehow got into Eastman, which not to like devalue myself, but sometimes is a little surprising to me just because I really didn't know like a lot of things that my peers did about like contemporary music and the 20th century and um, but I don't know. I guess they saw something and I got accepted into the program and the rest is history.
Cool. That's really, I had no idea about the jazz, like all of that. I had no idea. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't really do it much anymore just because I sometimes I miss it a little bit, but I just didn't love it enough to spend hours and hours a day learning all the tunes and all the keys and like it's like a lot of work that you have to do and it I just wasn't like I wasn't passionate about that part of it. I was passionate about the writing, which is why I went down that path instead.
totally understand. Wow, that's really interesting. It's good to know. I had like no idea. Um, cool. And good old Wikipedia with the blues progressions.
They've got
um,
all of them. They've got everything.
I'll have to check that out when I'm attempting my guitar practice. Um, okay, well, cool. Would you like to share where you've been studying or where you've said a little bit about it already, like your Eastman? Would you like to share like your degree program, anything like that?
Yeah, so in my undergrad, I was a double major in trombone and composition. Uh, I am now currently pursuing um, an MM, a Master's in Music and Composition, which at Eastman kind of has its own meaning. essentially they're a little unusual. They offer two different tracks for composers. One of them, which is the track most people do, is the MA, the Masters in Arts, which is like you write pieces and you write research papers. And then the MM is a lot more hands-on. Instead of writing research paper, I play a recital.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I'm still in trombone lessons. I'm rotated into all the ensembles. I'm doing gigs around here as well. I have one today and actually that I'm gonna run to basically right after this. Um, so yeah, so it's been kind of nice. It's been a place where that's really facilitated me being able to do a lot of performance and also do a lot of writing, um, which is definitely part of the reason I stayed for a second degree.
Yeah.
I think that about covers it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's excellent. So, cool. So MM in composition, that's really awesome.
Yeah, I
Um,
promise I'm not trying to like advertise the program. I just have there's some like explaining I always have to do about what that degree is like because it's a bit of an odd an odd degree to be getting.
no, I totally understand. Degree programs can be really complicated in terms of like what their names are and what's actually happening in them. And I think that's really important to understand, especially as someone who might be considering um like going
Yeah,
into music. So,
most colleges, if not all of them, have the degree requirements somewhere on their page. If you sleuth around, you can see
yeah,
all the classes you actually have to take, which is usually pretty helpful in knowing what the it's going to emphasize.
yeah, exactly. That's really good advice. Um, okay, so why did you say yes to working on this book? Because I know I'm not paying fantastically well. So what did you say?
Uh, yeah, I mean, there's a couple reasons. One, we've worked together before. I've written for you and always and that was a great experience. Um, and yeah, I mean, I I think this is a very important project. Educational music is not something I've done a whole lot of or have. Um, I'm not selling myself very well here, but don't have a lot of training in either. Um, although obviously, I mean, I've played a ton of it. Like, growing up, I had to do all of it. It's a sphere I'm familiar with. And yeah, I mean, there's there's something very interesting about etudes, especially etudes with such uh like limitations on what you can do for someone so young. That's a very interesting challenge that I don't normally get to do because I'm at a big conservatory. I can write basically anything and someone will be able to play it. Um, uh, so there's kind of that artistic element. I also think that, especially now, it's very important to have um, music written by a diverse group of people, um, and to have access to that as like I think having access to something like that from a young age would have really changed how I thought about performance and everything. Like I didn't I didn't really get a composition lesson with like a woman until I think last year was the first one I'd ever had.
That sounds about right.
And this summer I was at IWBC, the International Women in Brass Conference, and that was like super awesome. I was just like surrounded by all of these like s- really incredible people, and they were all super friendly, and a lot of them have like huge jobs. Like Sasha Romero from the Met was there, and we like chatted a bit, and I don't know, it's sort of like I don't think I really got the representation thing until I actually like saw it happen. And so yeah, I mean anything I can do to contribute to that is worth doing.
That's like exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you. So, I swear this wasn't scripted. Well, I guess my questions were, but um, cool. No, that's awesome. I was thinking about that too. I was thinking that like if I had like one of my all of my cello teachers growing up were women, and which was awesome for me because I never like had any doubts about being a woman in the music industry and anything like that. But all of the music I was playing was by men, so I was confused about that a little bit. So, and then seeing like queer representation in music was entirely non-existent too. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I took a lesson over the summer with Jen Hinkle, who's like a really insanely good bass trombone player in New York City. And it was the first lesson where I was like we were talking about things and I wasn't like not uncomfortable, but like there's sort of a disconnect between like I don't know, we were talking about like tools that we liked using and like she had all these like crazy decorations in her space and um it was like a really I don't know, it was just kind of nice to be like learning from someone who like was a lot more like me and I didn't have to like explain a lot of things that I normally have to explain to people like why maybe it's not a great idea for me to try to do New World Symphony, which is in Florida, or something like that. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
it's something to be said too, I think, because like music is such a personal thing too. And so the fact that sometimes we make it sort of it seems like the way we approach it is kind of impersonal, but the idea of like lack of representation is just really interesting. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Um okay. What are you most excited about the book? I mean, you kind of already said, but anything else that you wanted to add?
yeah. I mean, I love writing for cello. It's a really great, it's a really fun instrument. Um, and I'm excited about like students actually like getting to use it as a resource and maybe having something that will be useful for the next generation of musicians and have hopefully have a little bit of like staying power in that respect, even if it's like a short piece.
Cool. Love it. All right. So do you teach ever, or are you more performance based, or what does that look like for you?
I do teach.
Okay.
This year has been a pretty heavy teaching year for me, which has been awesome. Um, my current uh, teaching is I'm uh, teaching a class called Computer Engraving and Calligraphy at Eastman, which is a class required for the first year composers, and there's a few other people who are it's open to who are also taking it. And it's about like
Oh,
the mechanics of music notation, how to notate music clearly and effectively, sort of getting students to think critically about like how they're notating things and different sort of pathways forward. Um, it's also very interesting because I'm teaching them the computer notation software Dorico, which is the one I've always used for like 6 or 7 years. But that's kind of new to the class. Usually it's been like a Sibelius class. Um, and so that's like a very interesting shift, and it's an interesting way of teaching. Like teaching a software to someone is not something that you usually like think of as having to do. And so it's kind of fun to like put myself in a like, okay, I've just opened this up for the first time and I don't know where anything is. How do I
nice.
put in notes? Like, how do I, where's the time signatures? How that sort of thing. I
Yeah.
also have taught young children. So when I was in high school, I volunteered at my high school, and this past year I've substitute taught a few times at Rock Music, which is a local um, I think city-funded program for that's free to the students. It's usually like elementary and middle school students who are doing it. And so that's been a lot of fun to come in and teach like young kids how to play the trombone or how to play trumpet. Um, and it's felt very important also in a weird sort of way, because I don't know, you like look at someone who's so young and it's like such a I know this is kind of cliche, but it's such a formative time. Like it's like I could say something and it's like totally like offhand and it like they think about it for the rest of their life or me. Um, and so that's been very interesting. And quite a lot of fun also to get to do.
Wow. So you're teaching like college age people.
Yeah, I also last semester taught composition for non-majors, which is like private composition lessons for
Oh,
non-composers. So that was also like a really great experience. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's great experience to have also because I'm interested in teaching college as like my job. If any universities want to hire me after after I get my master's. Um, yeah, but it's a lot of fun. It's very interesting to see like how students progress and it's always like not been predictable. Like there are students who I think are going to start going one direction and then they like become interested in something completely different, and it's really fascinating to be a part of.
Okay, cool. Are there any projects that you're working on right now that you're like excited about or upcoming performances or anything?
Yeah, there's a few. One project I'm pretty excited about is I'm writing a piece for bass trombone and piano, which, despite it being my instrument, I've actually never done.
Really?
I wrote a piece a couple years ago for tenor trombone, bass trombone, and piano. That's the closest I've come. But I've
Okay,
never written just like a solo piano piece. Um, and that's like the most needed repertoire, especially for bass trombone, which in its modern configuration really hasn't been around that long.
right.
And so there's really a need for repertoire in general.
Huh,
Um, Obviously, when you add, representation into that, it becomes even smaller just because there's not
yeah,
that many good pieces in like period for the bass solo bass trombone, and there's even fewer that are by marginalized people. And that's been a lot. That's been like a really interesting experience. And it's surprisingly a very hard ensemble to write for. And so it's probably going to be like a bigger, probably like 20-minute piece is what it's shaping up to be. So it's like a real big project, and I'm taking up a lot of my my brain space right now.
that's so exciting though. Keep me posted on that. I'd love to like see that.
Yeah, I think it's likely either going to be put on a composer's concert or my degree recital. I'm not sure of my programming yet for my degree recital, which is why it's an if, not a yes.
Okay. And
But
for potential students who might want to listen to your degree recital, is it going to be in the spring?
it is going to be in the spring. I don't have
Okay.
the exact date yet. It's probably going to be around March or April.
Okay.
Um, so it should be live streamed. It'll be recorded. It'll probably go on my website, or at
Cool.
least, excerpts of it.
Nice.
Um,
Those links then.
and there's also I'm hoping to finish this piece in the next month or so, which knock on wood, learn it and then record it by like November, December. And so it might be possible to listen to it um, before the spring. We'll see.
Amazing. That's so cool. Nice. Let's see. Is there anything else that you want to share before we finish up here?
No, I think just yeah, I'm excited to write some beginner cello music, and I guess if people are interested, if someone listening is interested in hearing the rest of my work, you can find my website, just taliaberenbaum.com. I think some recordings of me playing and some recordings of my pieces, and you can learn all about me. And um, I think it has a very serious picture of me on the homepage, which I might need to change to be a little more a little more friendly. Um, but yeah, thank you for having me be a part of this.
Yeah, I thank you so much, and I'm really looking forward to just everything having to do with this. And I'll include all those links either in the bio or however that works.